Anyway, let's get going in the meantime. Hanish's fantastic presentation yesterday, a few minutes ago, made one particular point about cannabis not getting you high or hemp not getting you high. The endeavor of this panel is to try and get you high on the idea of CSR towards climate change. So that's our objective. I'll give a few framing comments, introduce the panel, and then we will get into specific questions. Three things to know about climate change. This is the most defining issue of our lifetimes. It affects every aspect of life as we know it, and it can make or break every aspect going forward. Hi, Richa. No worries, no worries. The second, and the cause for optimism, is we are at the front lines of climate change in India, but India is carving out an Indian pathway that is different from the North American, European, Chinese, high emissions-led pathway. There is genuinely an attempt to create a different pathway in India. The fact that you have CSR sessions on climate change, I noticed from the agenda that Ballroom 3 is almost exclusively about climate, nature-based solutions, sustainability, etc. So congratulations, you're in the coolest room already, and we will build from there. The challenge with climate change, however, is it requires us to re-engineer the entire global economy. Every way that we do industry, our ways of life, so it is complex and it is expensive. That's where challenges arise in terms of how we action it and how we take it forward. Aligning CSR investment with climate solutions, therefore, the answer to this panel is really simple. Put all your CSR monies into climate change if there's anyone with checkbooks from CSR companies, and that's the end of this panel. No, it's not the end of this panel. Let me now allow the panelists to introduce themselves. If we could start with you, Richa.
Hello. Good afternoon, evening. I've lost track of time. I'm Dr. Richa Gautam. I head the Sustainability and CSR at Schneider Electric Greater India Zone. Just to give you a little background on what Schneider does, we are an energy management and industrial automation company, and we've been there for last 60 years in India. We are a French multinational but have been present in India for the past 60 years. 38,000 plus employee base, and we are pan-India present, so that's our footprint here. And in my next statement, I will speak about how we are making change and adding technology solution, not just to our customers, suppliers, but also to our communities at large. So that is something I'll let after the introductions get over. Thank you.
Manish?
Yeah, hi. This is Manish Tapkara, CMD at DK Energy Services Limited, which is listed at BSE. We are serving companies to for their decarbonization pathways by providing sustainability services and carbon credits for their residual emissions to achieve carbon neutrality and net zero goals. We are there into the consulting services. We are there into the auditing. We are doing manufacturing of various low-cost greenhouse gas technologies wherein the investors can invest into the projects like improved cook stoves or IOCL's Sur Nutan cook stove and other different technologies at Nasik. So we do various different activities for the sellers, for the buyers, and for the investors across the globe. Thank you.
Umesh?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dr. Umesh Srivastav. I am Executive Director with Indian Oil Corporation's Research Center located at Faridabad. I've put almost 33 years of my service in the research sector. I'm not at all from the CSR community. I'm not a CSR manager. I am a product developer and a technology developer. And I think this is the first time that I'm sharing the stage with some of the passionate people who try to touch lives of the people of millions through their work. And I'm really happy and proud to be sitting here to say that yes, I have also done a work which has the potential of touching many, many lives to the bottommost strata of the pyramid, and I wish to explain more about it as we go along. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Namaskar. My name is Prabjot Sodhi, and I wear two hats, please. You certainly touch to millions of hearts through your beautiful solar cooker, which you have put there. Anyway, I represent Center for Environment Education, which is an Ahmedabad-based organization. CEE is celebrating 40 years now, and its director is none other than Vikram Sarabhai's son, Padam Shri Kartikeya Sarabhai. We cut across 18 to 20 different sectors, but education remains the core of the heart. How education can be really a part of the show. The second hat I wear is of the Material Recycling Association of India. I'm as an advisor, and MRAI is a body of recyclers which cuts across 11 sectors, ferrous to non-ferrous, used oils, rubber, tire, and you name plastics, electronics, rubber, cement, and so on and so forth. There are 11 different sectors which it cuts across. And they are all recyclers. They are giving life to new products. Anyway, and within the last 40 years, I've been implementing projects hands-on. Presently, I'm working with the HDFC's CSR for about an $8 million program on plastics. We'll gather more when we go along. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we've got a series of questions, and I'm going to be doing round robins with the group. I'm going to ask everyone to keep their answers to 2 minutes, and we have the ridiculous ambition to also find time for audience questions. So if the panelists and the audience cooperate, we should get there. One for everyone. Priorities, opportunities, challenges on CSR for climate change. Maybe I'll start with you, Prabjot. Priorities, opportunities, and challenges for CSR. Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay,
that's a pretty good question. So I think so. You said priorities and opportunities, isn't it? I was trying to put some notes together for people like yourself on this side and this side of the table. CSR definitely has a code of conduct to its under the rules, but beyond the rules, there are many opportunities. If I have to give you one example, we are working in plastics. Government of India is trying to put in a lot of great efforts, not only in plastic, but 11 sectors across, which are consuming, which are extractive in nature. We are taking it from the Mother Earth. India is 17% of population, 3% of area, and we consume about 5% of the total resources, which is about 9 billion tons per year. This is year 21. Niti Aayog figures. So I was just trying to give you the variances. So the consumption patterns is what each one of you and the production systems, each one of you is trying to bring sustainability across. So there are plenty of opportunities. You pick a sector, there are hundreds of different sectors which have been demonstrated here. But I think so, if I have to name resource optimization is an area where there are a lot of opportunities where we are trying to extend the life of the product through recycling, through refurbishment, through reuse, and through redesigning. So I think so, CSR, I want to congratulate HDFC Bank for giving us the opportunity, stop me when 2 minutes in, where HDFC Bank, for they really touch base to plastic waste management, and that's what I'm looking for the last 12 years. We are setting up material recycling centers. So you are touching up from the bottom of the pyramid, that is these informal sectors, Safai Sathis, whom we talk to them and giving them decent living and decent respect. That is uppermost in the factor and then you are picking up plastics and you are recycling them. He was talking of hemp. Hemp is having a protein, he said that, and protein, we can take it up to make compostable plastics. That is coming up, Indian Oil is sitting next to it. So simple technologies, if we really take them up and take them through the CSR, what is CSR trying to see? Companies are trying to find out what is the value for money. What am I giving for and what is the value which is coming to me, and decipher that into real numbers. And that's the best we can do. I think so. Opportunity to cut across renewable energy, circular economy, material sources, and various sectors which you are seeing. So CSR has to look upward, outside the box, outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Umesh, you mentioned that this is the first time for you in a CSR forum. Welcome. It's really good to have people who have actually done stuff here. A lot of us are just the talkers. What's your sense of what are the opportunities, priorities, challenges from CSR in climate action?
Yeah, I was just reading the title of this session and it says climate solution. So when we talk of climate action, climate solution, actually the priority is health. And the solution that we are proposing or we have brought to this forum is clean cooking solution. We'll talk more about it, but to the question is the priority should be health. The opportunity is technology, and the biggest challenge is I don't know how many of us in this room are actually driving battery-operated cars, or we are pooling ourselves in a car to come to a forum like this. So attitudinal shift is the biggest challenge as I see today in terms of climate action. Thank you.
And I think if I can broaden health to saying health for human beings and health for the planet.
Health for human being defines the health of the planet.
Absolutely. Manish?
So since I do come from the carbon market, so I will do relate the CSR or philanthropic fund with this specific industry, which is again associated with the climate change industry. So the opportunities for the CSR or philanthropic fund it can be deployed for the projects coming from the compliance carbon market and voluntary carbon market. So compliance carbon markets like Article 6.2 and Article 6.4. Indian government had announced 14 different technologies wherein if someone will do invest either from the equity or debt or from CSR or otherwise philanthropic fund, they can get the letter of approval from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which can the credits which would be generated from those projects can be sold in the Article 6.2 or 6.4 carbon markets across the globe. Second one is the voluntary carbon market. So since Indian government is working over the creation of voluntary carbon markets within India, with the name offset mechanism under Energy Conservation Act 22, although international carbon markets already do exist for last 5-10 years. And many projects are there wherein various corporates are there in India specifically who are investing into the projects like improved cook stove or water filter projects or biogas related projects. So all these projects are eligible to get the CSR fund and also eligible to earn for the carbon credits which can be used to get revenue in the form and format of climate finance within India. While the challenges are the knowledge or the awareness within the corporates, it's very, very less. They do not know much about the carbon markets and how, for any simple project, if the fund is coming from the CSR, it's a one-time investment that they do, and for year-on-year basis, again, they need to invest to keep the project alive or sustainable. But such kind of projects which are being invested into the CSR domain are self-sustainable. That means the revenue which is coming from the sale of carbon credits can be redeployed for the same project or for the expansion of the similar project. So first thing is knowledge and awareness, and second thing is clarity related to how the treatment of carbon credits can be done under the India's CSR Act under the company's law. So these are the two challenges which I do foresee if we will be able to elevate, then not only we would be helping India to meet its NDC goal, National Determined Contribution Goal under the Paris Agreement, but also we will do support India to earn Forex or getting the fund from the global north to India, that means the global south, which comes under the global south, and help our rural sector specifically to get the funds, not only the funds which are coming from the government policies or from the CSR, but from the carbon markets also. Thank you.
Thanks. And just one point I want to pick on from what you said. The treatment of carbon credits as far as Indian CSR regulations are concerned is a small but important barrier that needs to be addressed. And so for all of you from the corporate world, please do speak to regulators to try and open this up, because what this allows you to do is it will allow a lot more additional flows to complement your CSR monies. We'll be talking about that later, but think of it as a way of unlocking additional monies. Sometimes regulations take a little while to catch up with market developments, and this is probably one case like that. Richa, over to you. Priorities and challenges and opportunities as well. Let's not only look negative.
Sure. So priority, definitely yes. As I said, we are an energy management company. That means we are a technology company which is driving, what should I say, driving sustainability, innovation, and decarbonization. We are at the vector of decarbonization because energy is, to some extent, contributes to scope 2 emissions, and when we optimize or make systems efficient, that's when we make a dent in the carbon footprint of any entity that we go for. So priority, definitely yes, and we have been doing it for a very long time. For our customers, the carbon savings for our customers, for our suppliers, we run multiple programs for our strategic suppliers where we are reducing their carbon footprint. And as a third lever, we have started working with our communities as well to reduce the carbon emission. So now this is a definite priority, and we as a technology company see this as an opportunity. So what we do as a part of CSR programs, so our flagship program is Skill Development Program, where we are churning out 50,000 youth. We are skilling 50,000 youth every year on electrician courses, on solar technician, and industrial automation courses. And the format in which we are running is through ITIs, the government ITIs and polytechnics. So we are actually helping, and Schneider is technology expert, so we transfer our knowledge into this ecosystem and train and skill our youths every year. And there's a large portion of these youth who are actually women. Now, people are not thinking women may be interested in technical fields, but we are, in the past 1 year, we have seen a lot of traction from women to see some kind of roles like this. Our second program is something where we are making a lot of technology transfer in terms of transforming a village, a normal village, into a climate smart village. Where at the very start of the year, we kind of gave them solar irrigation pumps, and right now the entire village is being run by solar energy. Some 40 kilowatt of installations, smart IoT-enabled power management systems, and this is what we have recently developed in-house and transformed this village into a climate-smart village. We do a similar program with our government schools, like Zilla Parishad schools, where we deploy smart digital classrooms. And even the usage of these classrooms is what we monitor through remote monitoring systems. Sitting at our office, we know which Zilla Parishad school in which part of Jharkhand is getting used or not used. So we kind of make that kind of technological platforming here. The challenge that you asked is, I think once we deploy or transfer our knowledge, who's there to understand what needs to be done, or the sustainability of the project is the challenge that we are experiencing, but then we are not leaving the communities alone. We are taking them as a part of the transition and also telling them how to maintain these systems. So the teachers of a school will know, or the technicians of the school will know how to monitor or maintain a solar system. the villagers, the tribal villagers, the youth of that village will know how to maintain the solar systems. So these are the challenges, but not a long-term challenge I foresee, but these are something which we are working towards so that they don't remain a challenge in the future. So these are some technology transfer that we are doing. Our core competency of Schneider is what we are delivering to the communities. Yep.
And that point about how do you ensure that change is sustained is a problem across all of CSR efforts, across all of the not-for-profit sector. I'm going to pick on one point that you said, but let's get a little bit of audience participation. I want you to raise your hands if you think, and this is a very non-scientific question, how many of you think renewables is a good thing? Renewable energy? Only two? Yeah, okay, some more. You can raise both hands. All right. Keep your hands up and just tell me how many of you think just getting renewables is enough for us to meet our climate objectives? Absolutely. So the renewables push that India is undertaking is massively important, and we've reached 195 gigawatts out of our 500 gigawatts target, which is fabulous. There's more work to be done, but that's on the way. But the reason I make this point is you touched upon the efficiency question. The only way we're going to be able to decouple our growth from emissions is if we both press on the renewable side as well as we look at the efficiency side. I want to now start the round-robin bit, and I want to give you one piece of context. CSR is 2% of profits, right? That's the mandated requirement. How do we move from thinking about 2% of profits to 100% of revenues? That is to say, how do we make sure that CSR is far more aligned with the organization's strategic objectives? Because that is when the executive leadership of an organization, that's when the shareholders will start taking it more seriously. And I wanted to ask you, Richa, the first question. Schneider being an energy management company, how does CSR get looked at from an energy management point of view? And how do you bring the capabilities of Schneider beyond the CSR money? And I'm not discounting the value of that CSR money, but the capabilities are as valuable as the monies that you give.
Absolutely, that's a brilliant question. And what we offer to the community is also an in-house expertise that we have within Schneider. So I would also like to showcase the capabilities that Schneider has as an in-house sustainability expert. Here, I don't know, most of you may not know, but one of our Hyderabad plants is a World Economic Forum certified sustainability plant. It's a lighthouse project of World Economic Forum, right? So energy is the core, is the part of decarbonization, and that is what we are delivering in our quest to becoming a strategic CSR partner. So now here I'm not discounting the role that an NGO partner plays on the ground, because in all of these projects we are still a collaborator, whereas there is an NGO partner who has existence, presence and acceptability on the ground, right? So we choose areas where there is a defined need for change. We choose partners who have great amount of acceptability with the local communities, because where we work are aspirational districts and setups where there are remote, distant, difficult terrain villages, and there having presence itself is a very challenging thing. So these are the areas which are focused. So I would name it as a strategic CSR that we do, and any of the program which we drive under CSR will have that knowledge transfer or core competency of Schneider going into the project. So this is something which we have maintained all across.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to reach out to the audience now. Don't embarrass me. There's somebody who's put up a, we have only 5 minutes left board. Can you guys raise your hands and say we want to carry on for more than 5 minutes, please? Thank you. Okay, you've been outvoted. We'll do it decently. Umesh, over to you. Indian Oil Company. Oil is in the middle name of it, but you have an amazing solar-powered cooking stove innovation. How does the capabilities of Indian Oil come to make something like this?
Yeah. You rightly said, Indian Oil is an oil and gas company. We were there, we are here, and we want to continue to be there in the world for a very, very long time. And the way the energy scenario is transitioning from the earlier oil and gas to now more efficient oil and gas, to more of gas and less of oil, to more of renewables and less of gas and oil. So we are moving in that direction, and we, by the way, is the product that we are displaying here, the Surya Nutan, is not the first product that Indian Oil has made for the kitchens. We are already there in your kitchens with the name of Indane. We supply Indian gas to you. We developed one of the world's most innovative kerosene stoves way back in 1980s, which was incidentally named as Nutan. So now we have a Surya version of Nutan, which is Surya Nutan, the indoor solar cook stove, which is the world's only indoor solar cooking solution. And it can make all kinds of food, all kind of cooking operation. The most difficult ones with the help of solar was baking chapati, making roti, or deep frying the pudis and pakoras and mithai and all that. All that can be seen here. Only thing is the hotel is not permitting us to do deep frying here because of all the smoke that they foresee will happen. Otherwise, the product can make all of it. We have deployed it in some of the model villages. We are taking it to many other locations. And by the way, for the benefit of all the CSR enthusiasts here in India, at least I am amazed to note in the last 1 year that I have been to villages along with Team EKI and many other associates that we are working now. 30% of village women are cooking using wood even today. In this very country, 1 hour drive from this very city, 1 hour drive from Bombay, 1 hour drive from Indore, Bangalore, you can find those small pockets of villages where there are 100, 200 homes and all of them are using wood for cooking. And it's so dangerous. In India, it is 30%. In Africa, it is 70%. That's the kind of pollution which these women are inhaling while cooking. And I think if there is one renewable energy intervention that will actually touch the lives of the people, millions and millions of people, billions of people across the globe, it has to be the clean cooking solution. Because I have myself seen those houses in Africa and I have seen those houses in India where so much of a smoke happens, so much of time, labor they spent in collecting money, going across jungles and all. So, and you know, in terms of all the intervention, you all would be hearing about a battery being manufactured or green hydrogen being manufactured or green aviation fuel. All these interventions will require nothing less than, every single intervention will require nothing less than $200 billion per year of investment in research, development, production to achieve complete cleanliness by 2050. But at least the clean cooking is one area where for the entire world you require not more than $10 billion on an annual basis, and by 2030 everything can be made clean. All the cooking operations can be made clean in those houses, and that is where a lot of work is being happening in terms of renewable energy penetration or efficient cook stove penetration across the world. Thank you.
I encourage all of you to go and see the stall and look at it for all of the reasons that Dr. Unmesh has articulated so passionately, but also for two additional reasons. One is this is an oil and gas company that made this innovation, and that's actually quite striking. And the second, which you may not evidently see from the stand, is you mentioned the partnership with EKI on carbon credits. And I just wanted, maybe Manish, if you can talk about how does carbon credits support an initiative like this to give additional financing flows?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, to support rural community, because most of the corporates who are having their CSR funds or philanthropic funds from the individuals or societies or from the companies, all those funds can be used to distribute such kind of devices free of cost to the rural communities. And with the help of carbon finance, with the help of selling of the carbon credits either from the Article 6.2, Article 6 of the carbon markets or voluntary carbon markets at the national international level, we can distribute such kind of devices free of cost to the community. So till date, we have deployed around 400 stores from the CSR fund. 600 stores is there over the manufacturing line, and then would be ready to get the distribution in Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, and UP. Further, we are in talk with various corporates coming from Korea, Singapore, Japan, who are looking to invest into the projects which can earn carbon credits, and whatever the carbon credits that would be generated can be used to meet the NDC goal for the Singaporean or Japanese or Korean government. So such kind of activities not only will do help the rural communities to get the clean cooking solutions, but the corporates also would be able to get the help while doing their CSR implementation. They will also get more and more do support to the more and more SDG goals. So such kind of projects usually do qualify for more than 10 SDG goals out of 17, and the high impact used to be created from such activities. And further, not only will do help the Indian government to meet its NDC goals if it's into the voluntary markets, but will do also help to gain the foreign exchange that will do support the overall economy also. As you know, the voluntary carbon markets as of now is in the range of around $1 to $2 billion globally, overall market size, but it is being anticipated by various companies, which includes various the financial institutions or research organizations or advisors like McKinsey, BCG, and BAN. So they had anticipated that the only voluntary carbon markets would be in the range of $10 to $200 billion in next 3 to 5 years timeline. Further, since India is the third largest greenhouse gas emitter, and we do have our own targets to reduce the emissions, but also we do have ambition to sell the carbon credits originated from 14 different technologies, which Indian government recently had submitted its format to UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, just a day before they had submitted the same. And I think some 2 months back they had declared the 14 technologies. So the 12th number technology which is being informed by MOFCC is the clean cooking. With the help of government support under the PPP model are eligible to earn for the carbon credits. And so various corporates can get benefit out of all these opportunities from the carbon markets.
So because you didn't embarrass me, I'm not going to embarrass you by asking you to raise your hand for everyone who knows what is Article 6, compliance markets, voluntary markets, etc. However, there's a solution to this. Tomorrow, NKing is running a masterclass on carbon credits. So I'm just giving a shout out if you need to learn more about it. This is an area which is going to expand globally. It is going to expand in India as well, and I'd encourage you to attend to learn a little bit more.
With your permission, if I can just take one sentence to compliment Manish.
Yeah.
What he said about the carbon market and all, just one sentence. Manish said, free of cost. The solar cooker is very costly, not less than 50,000. With the power of technology and carbon credit, free of cost, it is being distributed. That is all.
Absolutely. No, that's a very powerful statement. Prabjot, if I can come to you, one of the challenges around any kind of CSR, but particularly climate related, because it's much more complex and there are many more variables, is how do you improve accountability on CSR funding through better evaluation? So how do we remain accountable to the stakeholders who are granting us CSR grants, and how do CSR managers know that their programs and their funding is actually working?
Let me take you through the example of actual work which we are doing. That'll be interesting for people. I'll be able to correlate that. As I said we are having a $7 million program with HDFC Bank in establishing material recovery facilities. I'm talking all in terms of plastics and dry waste in cities with the urban local bodies and the rural Zilla Parishads, and also establishing recycling centers, because recovery is not going to solve the problem. So these were highly complex issues which was being attempted by HDFC first time. Nobody in the country in CSR has put money into this. And private sector, of course, there is. And we have partnered with government also in every. They gave us only $4 million over a 4-year period, 3.5-year period. And we have raised more than $4 million. So, you know, accountability, when we are talking about, people are trying to see, the donors will be the most happiest when you can leverage finance, when you can leverage resources from other than that. They become the enablers and you become the implementer of the larger fund. That is one of the biggest the CSR managers are looking for. They are very happy. Second thing what they are looking is on the measurability aspect. How to measure the impacts. What is the rupee which they are investing in you is giving the outcomes. So in our project, what we did, we have used all AI techniques, artificial intelligence. We have used Google Forms to really create the systems, backward and forward information. We have used various app-based programs in which we are collecting the information and putting it on the computer, feeding that information and putting the graphics around it. So how much is the material sold every day? How much is the material? Traceability, transparency in your operations is what the CSR managers are looking. That is one thing which is very important. For if you give them that clarity that, look, we are purchasing so much, we are selling so much, this is the money profit which is being earned by the operations which you are doing. Ultimately, the sustainability only will happen if you earn profits, not profiteer. There is a difference between profiteering and profits. So what we are doing is we are putting across various aspects and we are giving a clear measurability of the impacts which are happening across 10 cities. So you're not doing one place, you know. Yes, there are fallouts. I'm not trying to say that it's such an easy mechanism as it looks so easy. And we are linking it all to the climate change, you know. When you are talking about recyclability, take a minute more. When you're talking recycling, you are talking about emissions, you are talking about the consumption in energy. So all that, when you minimize that wastage, then you are leading to better climatic goals or carbon credits for that matter of fact. And that is what we are trying to give the additionality. Carbon credits is creating the additionality to the incomes which is getting on. So I think so, coming to your point to sum it is that if you can give a clarity in terms to the donors, clarity in terms of measurability, clarity in terms of what has really come out of it and how the leverage has taken place in terms of resources. The donors are much happy. This is what I think so, and this is what I am practicing, and we are having today 5 donors.
No, that's really helpful. And one message I'd leave for CSR managers from corporates, from NGOs, from other organizations, enabling organizations such as yourselves, is that action on climate change can be measured. Okay, and it needs to be measured, and you should measure it. That's what gets you more accountability, and that's what will get you even more revenues flowing in. I want to be respectful of future panels, so after my bulldozing effort, how much time do we realistically have?
You can still raise the 5-minute thing. That's the only card he has.
That's right. You have only one card. Okay, sorry. All right, we'll carry on until you raise it again. Okay? Of carbon reduced emissions equal to this much tons or equal to this much rupees, whichever you want to measure. I'm going to wind this up. Climate Core Fellowships Program, and Paridhi, if you can wave your hand, there you go. Catch her at the end of this. Now, one of the challenges with climate change is it is really difficult to understand the science of it. And as CSR managers, you'll have somebody come and say, give me algae and I'll turn it into green hydrogen and the world will all be wonderful. And, there's lots of really strange, crazy solutions, some of which actually make sense. but not all of us are climate scientists. In fact, I'd venture to guess that most of us are not climate scientists. So to a non-scientist who is leading a CSR effort, Dr. Umesh, if I can pass it on to you, how do they evaluate us an idea? Somebody comes and says, "Mere paas ye hai." How do I begin to assess it when I'm not the scientist?
I think somewhere in the management courses we are taught that we don't sell products and technologies. We actually are into the business of fulfilling a need. And if there is a need, that needs gets fulfilled by any product, that is the complete definition of a product that is being used or marketed or produced. So in terms of I'll again say solar cooktop, which is on display here. This is the only indoor solar cooktop available so far to my knowledge in the world, which can make all kind of food, all kind of cooking operations, and at the same time, when has to be coupled with responsible investing, responsible CSR funds coming through it, it has to be measurable and monitorable. So my iPhone tells my family where I am sitting right now. It's the power of IoT. The same thing is incorporated in this product, where how much of power it is taking from grid, how much of power it takes from the solar energy, all that can be monitored sitting millions or miles away from the user. And on a dashboard, it can be monitored. And I think that's what the carbon credit agencies look for. How pure is the carbon credit that they are awarding? So if the user is using the fund for the purpose that it is being used in an effective manner, in an efficient manner, without much of wastage, that is the complete technology for fit for carbon credit. So I think that's all.
Absolutely. And, I forgot to introduce myself. I work with Environmental Defense Fund. We are one of the world's leading NGOs that work on climate action. If I come and tell you something, don't believe me just because I said so. Ask questions. Ask for the science behind it. Ask for the research. Vet it with somebody else. Take it to somebody technical in your company who may not be, fully on climate change, and say, hey, just kick the tires on this. Just tell me it makes sense. Don't take anyone's word blindly for it. Kick the tires is what we would recommend. We're nearing the end, and so I thought what we'd last do is a round robin on a wish list. What can we do to align CSR investments with climate solutions? And, if you could also talk about the climate smart villages. I love that example that you spoke about earlier.
Sure. So what we did in our climate smart villages, we had put around 5 to 7 solar irrigation pumps. Now this is a very small village having like tribal farmers who produce 1 crop a year, heavy dependence on rains, and thankfully there's a water source, but they don't know how to lift water and get it to their fields. So rain dependence, no idea on how to get the water to their fields, and very, very scarce kind of landscapes where there's a difficult terrain, there's a irrigatable terrain, so it's very difficult in their ways to get the water to the lands. So when we gave them the solar irrigation pumps, it really helped them. From 1 crop per year, they moved to 3 crops per year. And these are all high yielding varieties that they tried because they had abundance of water, or at least availability of water in this part of Gumla, if I would say, Gumla, which is an aspirational block or a district in Jharkhand. After 2 years of our intervention, there was a continuous community engagement and all, where we also understood that despite a lot of produce, 3x produce, they were not getting the right market price for their produce. That is when we understood that while the incomes might have doubled from the baseline, this is not going to be a sustainable or a future-proof solution for them. We took help from other collaborators. We didn't do it alone. There were 2-3 more funders who came on board with their technology, had the agro-processing units installed in the village itself for taking mustard from the mustard seeds, for having mustard powder done from the original mustard, for rice deshelling and rice hulling, and even making those plates from sal leaves which are used for eating purposes in some of the pandals and all. We got these agro-processing units installed, established, and then we also meanwhile realized that there's only a one supply of electricity that is not too reliable. So now who's going to, so the pumps are running, there's water, but who's going to provide electricity to these agro-processing units? That's when we enhanced capacities in these villages, and what we did, we in-house developed an IoT-enabled power management system which is intelligent enough to run the pumps with the solar energy which is generated in the morning. In the afternoon, it runs the agro-processing units, and in the night, it transfers loads to the households and to the street lights. So, and we can all remotely sitting in anywhere part of India can see how this load shifting is happening on a real-time basis. So this is something I thought I'll share.
Excellent. We're fully out of time. I'm going to leave one sentence to everyone, wish list, but a one-sentence wish list. Starting with you, Prabjot.
That's a very difficult one, yeah.
Just one point.
Sentence.
I'm sorry, but...
I tell you that every sector is growing. There are brilliant opportunities. I must tell you one thing about plastics. $700 billion polymer market for plastics in the world. It's going to touch base to $1 trillion within next 2 years. Get into this arc of systems and get it to be recycled. It is directly contributing towards oil saving and carbon credits.
Sure.
I think I'll just close here. If people want more, they can come back.
Absolutely. Dr. Umesh?
In one sentence, I can only invite people here and their attention and their passion to join the party for world's largest clean cooking program through CSR and through carbon credit investing that is going to start from India. Thank you.
Manish?
Yeah, so corporates should earmark some fund for their CSR, from their CSR or philanthropic kitty, to invest into the projects which can also earn for the carbon credit, because they already do have many projects from various different sectors, but keeping the priority over the investment into the projects which can earn for the carbon credits should be the ask to whomsoever the corporates we have introduced, or the foundations we have introduced this concept. They took it very seriously and had pledged that they will do invest their funds, some part of the fund into all these activities. We do have two associates, one Sadanand and Barkha here, and if you want to know more about the nitty-gritty related to the carbon markets or CSR funds and integration of the both, kindly do connect with the same. Thank you.
Richa?
My wish list is collaboration.
Excellent.
More and more collaborations, because no one company can actually do any solid work. It is the collaboration that actually has the potential to bring about the change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sorry, we don't have time for audience questions, but the participants will be available. The team that put this whole together, I've been noticing you're putting social media feeds. Please let it not reflect that we promoted the use of cannabis. People got high without cannabis. Thank you so much for patient hearing. Okay. All right, cool. We have time for questions, sir.
Today they would have saved at least 2,000 water bottles, PET bottles, am I right, by giving this. So what do you say on this? And the question is, if people are moving away from fossil fuels, say from crude oil, this is, if it would have been PET bottle, they would have extracted from naphtha, am I right? So your business will be out after a few years. But oil companies are working hard to innovate how they can bring new product on plastics. But you're working on cooking. That's very amazing, am I right? I'm seeing new companies now coming up with plastic-related products. Even in US, there are tons of companies, the tons of plastics have been produced with the PET bottles or recycled PET bottles. Recycling is bad, you said, am I right? Because
nobody said bad. It's in fact the good thing.
virgin plastic.
Recycling, when you're doing, you're not extracting. You,
No, I agree with you. But the energy, the recycling industry.
No. See, try and understand. Extraction takes away emissions, creates emissions. When you're recycling, yes, you are consuming energy, but you are not taking virgin material out. So you are replicating the material not to take the virgin.
But oil companies are innovating very fast to come up with new products. Am I right? Naphtha.
That's okay. That's a different question.
Are we moving away from fossil fuel, from plastic industry, or we keep extracting and on one side we are
You know, one thing, let me tell you, you just don't pass these rapid question statements. The life cycle says that glass bottle consumes much more energy than a plastic bottle. And by the way, PET is 98% recyclable. This is the most easily recyclable product. Let me finish. Most easily recyclable product and also easily collectible because of high price. Okay. It is the litter which is creating a problem. Plastic.
Recently, a study says that there are 2.4 lakhs of nanoplastic in PET bottles, and it's not good for health drinking in a PET bottle.
These are all passing statements. There is no science which has proven it.
Can I just, request Dr. Umesh also to respond?
Yeah, I'll not get too much deep into the science part of it. So far as Indian Oil is concerned, we have two products. One is Cycloplast, which is the recycled plastic that we are selling already in the market. And we are also collecting a lot of PET bottles, converting into apparel and selling in the name of unbottled. So these are the two examples I've given. We'll discuss more once we
do not. I'll move on to another question if you don't mind, but don't underestimate the power of technology and innovation to make recycling more energy efficient, to come up with more efficient ways of delivering water on the table.
Hello, my name is Anup Paikre. My question is to Manish sir and Umesh ji. Sir, even today, as you said, 30% of India's population still using the primitive mud stove or biomass burning stove. What are the possible reasons in terms of the psychological factor or maybe the technology factor or maybe some other factors that this problem is still relevant today? And second is that if a startup want to enter into this field, into the clean cooking, what are the fundamentals the startup should have, strong fundamentals, then only they should go deep into this field. So I would like to have your advice as well as answer.
See, I'll take the second question first. The only fundamental which a startup should have, or an oil company of a much bigger size like us should have, is passion. Nothing else will matter so far as clean cooking is concerned, because you have to actually get down to that level and implement the solution. Your first question was, can you repeat it? Yeah, the people, they are not using because, as I said somewhere in my course of discussion here itself, we are all responsible. Attitude, our behavior, we don't want to change. Tell me how many of us in this room are segregating our organic and inorganic waste in our homes. We don't do that. So is that poor fellow who has been brought up, the day he was brought up, he found all the smoke in his hut, and his mother and all the females and all the family has been seeing that smoke around them. It is dangerous for them. We know. Probably they also know. But they don't want to change. That resistance to change in the human being is actually the major impediment for any technology to succeed.
In addition to that, the another factor is the energy cost.
Yeah.
If they want to replace their free fuel, free wood that they get from their agricultural residual waste or from the forest wherein nearby forest wherein they live. So replacing free fuel with the fuel for which they need to pay is again one of the resistance or the economical acceptance or economical capability is also one of the factor wherein people they do not want to shift from the traditional way of cooking to the modern energy cooking methods.
So, sir,
thank you very much, everyone.